I think it took a lot of vision and foresight on your part, and your dedication to many Jewish organizations, including CAMRA and others that you're a member of the board on, and your early support for a long-shot presidential candidate who just so happened to be one of the best friends Israel's ever had in the White House was absolutely prescient, and I think that you're actually becoming one of the most important lay leaders in the American Jewish diaspora. So thank you, and thank you to Amelia. Thanks also to our editor-in-chief, Jonathan Tobin, who we'll talk a little bit more about later. Rabbi Yehuda Kaplan, the nominee to be special envoy and ambassador at large to combat anti-Semitism. We're waiting for your nomination to be confirmed. And with that, we are going to get the program started, and we will begin by welcoming everybody and singing the national anthems of the State of Israel and the United States of America. I'd like to welcome to the stage Cantor Chaim David Burson of this beautiful Shul Kilal Yeshurun.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, where so gallantly red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. כל עוד בלבב פנימה, נפש יהודי הומייה, ואתם מזרח קדימה, עין לציון צופיה. Thank you very much. תודה רבה.
That was amazing. Whew. How do you follow that? Ladies and gentlemen, first I'd like to address the elephant in the room, or rather the giant who is not in the room. Prime Minister Netanyahu unfortunately canceled his appearance with us this evening. And while we're certainly disappointed, on behalf of all of you who came to show him honor and support, we are hopeful that the meetings taking place this evening and tomorrow at the White House with President Trump will be both productive and successful. We can be sure that they will be consequential. The outcomes of those meetings are likely to chart a course not only for Israel, but for the entire Middle East for decades to come. That is visionary leadership. To recognize the challenges, opportunity, and obligation to act over and above what others believe is possible or required in a particular moment. To do what is necessary to improve and strengthen the future of the Jewish people, and for that matter, the greater Middle East, Western civilization, and civilization as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, for 2 years, Prime Minister Netanyahu has been actively guiding Israel through an existential battle against murderous terrorists. His decisions have led not only to the near complete annihilation of Hamas, but the neutralization of Hezbollah, the demilitarization of Syria, and the disarmament of Iran's illicit nuclear program. At the same time, the Prime Minister is fighting a diplomatic war against what he termed at the UN on Friday, weak-kneed Western leaders who support the aims of terrorists over the aspirations of the democratic Jewish state. And he also fights against the dark, quote-unquote, deep shtetl in Israel that works night and day to undermine the democratically elected leaders of our country. It is the same deep shtetl that pushed for the failed Oslo Accords two-state land for peace paradigm, for the failed withdrawal from Gaza in 2005, and has been blocking the streets and protesting in Israel for more than 5 years, and has openly warned of a civil war. This deep shtetl may have helped to build the Jewish state with blood, sweat, and tears, but today, by their words and actions, they are choosing to stand on the wrong side of history. As the Prime Minister saw on Friday, when most of the delegates walked out before the beginning of his address to the United Nations General Assembly, leadership is often lonely. But the Prime Minister is not leading alone. The war for Israel's survival is being fought bravely by hundreds of thousands of soldiers and reservists, risking their own lives, some tragically losing them in battle, in defense of the Jewish homeland. Others have been fighting battles on the policy level, others on the diplomatic level, still others on the spiritual level. Ladies and gentlemen, as many of you know, JNS has been leading the fight night and day on the media battlefront. The war of narratives, the fight for public opinion. And here too, leadership can be lonely. Looking around at the mainstream media, led by the likes of Al Jazeera, the AP, Reuters, the New York Times, CNN, BBC, the list goes on and on. JNS is fighting against the forces of a multi-billion-dollar industry. Worse, much of the Jewish and Israeli media do little to defend the Jewish state against the biased mainstream media. They too are biased against Israel's government. And in the process of trying to convince Israelis that they've chosen the wrong elected leaders, these publications and their influencers are irreparably harming Israel's diplomatic image and the relationship between Israel and the diaspora. As the Prime Minister said when he actually attended and brilliantly addressed our JNS summit in Jerusalem this past April, JNS has been a powerful source of truth amidst the lies. JNS has stepped up to the plate since October 7th, doubling our staff size, increasing our output tenfold, and increasing our reach by orders of magnitude. But here too, leaders are not alone. There are each and every one of you here today. There are an incredible roster of speakers here this evening, and there are millions, if not tens and hundreds of millions more just like us, that live and breathe Am Yisrael Chai. That said, leaders almost always need to do more. Israel has survived and succeeded on the battlefield due to the bravery of our soldiers, but also due to our military superiority. When enemies fire missiles and rockets, Israel shoots them out of the sky. Israel has the world's best planes and best precision-guided weapons, offensive and defensive. And Israel may or may not have, ambiguity intended here, the world's most powerful weapons to serve as a deterrent against any force that seeks our annihilation. Israel has fought and continues to fight bravely on 7 fronts. The Prime Minister refers to the battle of information as the 8th front. It is actually this 8th front where our enemies believe they can actually defeat the Jewish state. Ladies and gentlemen, we must not let that happen, and we will not let that happen. Just as Israel has invested billions and billions of dollars into securing Israel's qualitative military edge on the battlefield, we must now invest heavily in the information battlefield. We are being dramatically outspent by our opponents, who control the newsrooms of the mainstream media, who control university Middle Eastern study centers, and who control the world's most powerful social media algorithms and bot farms. I'm calling today for the supporters of Israel to make a massive investment into the information battlefield. Like every other battlefront, this is an arena that we can and must win. We must take all of our technological expertise and all of our available resources to develop methods to launch and win a significant counter-information campaign. Even with massive investment, we may not see an immediate turnaround, but the Jewish story is a long one. We can and will win back public opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, the decisions that are being made by Israel's Prime Minister and the victories on the kinetic battlefield have the potential to usher in an era of peace and prosperity in Israel and across the greater Middle East. When this happens, Israel must be well positioned to ultimately win the battle of narratives, to tell the truth, and to disseminate it far and wide. Today, you will hear from great leaders. Each has been fighting to protect and strengthen Israel and the Jewish people. And by doing so, they're also fighting to protect and strengthen the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, we must be proud of how we turned a moment of great darkness and despair, October 7th, into an opportunity to dismantle Iran's regional terror axis. We must be proud of our soldiers' bravery, and we must be proud of the small but mighty Jewish state and the Jewish people that have endured and will continue to endure. One of the keys to endurance is Jewish unity. The enemies of the Jewish people don't care if we are living in Israel or in the diaspora. They don't care if we are religious or secular, left-wing or right-wing, voted for Prime Minister Netanyahu or would never vote for Prime Minister Netanyahu. They single us out for our identity as Jews. Let us all stand together as Jews in this moment of existential crisis and generational opportunity. Let us also remember that the ultimate key to our endurance is our faith in God above. We are gathered here between the holy days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur in one of New York City's oldest and most respected synagogues. On the afternoon of Yom Kippur, we read the story of the prophet Jonah, who thought he could escape God's call to influence the behavior of a large city, Nineveh. Today, we are receiving that call to win the information war, to put policies into place that will protect our people and our civilization. Let us answer that call with resounding fortitude and resolve. Let us collectively thank God for the miracles we've witnessed on the battlefield. Let us pray for the return of our hostages. Let us pray for the speedy recovery of all of our injured soldiers. And let us stand together. And let us stand together as one nation in asking for forgiveness for our sins and for successes in the year ahead. Thank you. And with that, I'd like to welcome the chair of this Leadership Assembly, my friend and mentor, Richard Heidemann.
Alex, kol hakavod, and thank you for your leadership and for all that you do and the leadership that is provided by JNS for all of us in the world who care about issues and care about solutions. The Prime Minister intended to be here tonight. The Prime Minister wanted to be here tonight. And the Prime Minister, on the one hand, regrets that he's not able to be here, but on the other hand, you should know, and we should all appreciate, that he is dealing with serious issues of state, and he is dealing with the future of Israel and the Jewish people, and he is dealing with the essential and most important relationship between Israel and the United States of America. We have received a video message for all of you from the Prime Minister, and we begin with that.
Dear friends, I'd hoped to be with you in person tonight, and I plan to be with you in person tonight, but circumstances have caught up with us. I have to prepare for a very important meeting with President Trump tomorrow in Washington. I'm sure you'll understand. But first, I want to acknowledge the best of friends that Israel has, and I and Sarah personally have. The first one is Richard Heidman. I actually wrote down the list to make sure I don't lose or miss any of you. The chairman of JNS Leadership Council, Alex Tremaine, the CEO, Elise Stefanik. You did an amazing job. The context issue, you hit them right on the nose. Tila Falik, part of the Falik family, our dear friends. Sean McGuire of Sequoia, you joined the battle, and we welcome it. Of course, we have Ambassador Danny Danon and Consul General Ophir Akunis holding the fort here in America, and Jonathan Tobin of JNS, and of course, how is he called? The great Mark Levin. I mean, the great Mark Levin, just a man of courage and truth and an indomitable spirit. And we even went to the same high school. He is more than a friend. He is a guardian of Israel. The main message I want to leave with you today is that we must fight, and we must fight on all fronts until we achieve victory. It's not always easy. Some of it will take longer in some arenas than others, but we have to achieve victory. And the most important place where we have to fight is the battle for truth, the battle against the vilifications and the lies that are hurled at our people. That's been the case for millennia, and these lies change form as they do now, but we have to continue fighting them. I don't think we'll get rid of them, but we can mitigate their damage. The most important thing that has happened to our people is that before the rise of Israel, these lies always preceded a massacre, and often successful massacres, and pogroms and exiles, culminating in the worst massacre of them all in the Holocaust. The great change that has happened is, one, yes, we're able to also fight the lies to a point, and two, we're able to defend ourselves, and defend ourselves with all the power and might of the Jewish people and of the Maccabees of old, the Maccabees of today. That is the fundamental change that has happened to us. But I think that you should be proud of the fact that you are the modern Maccabees of the battle for truth. So keep it up, and thank you on behalf of the Jewish people, on behalf of the Jewish state. And one final word. In these 2 years, we turned the tables around. On day 2 of the war, I said we'll create a different Middle East, and we have. But there's still work to do. We'll continue to do everything in our power to release all our hostages, to have Hamas lay down its arms, to demilitarize Gaza, to create a different future, a better future for Israel, for the region. I think it's within our power. Thank you.
We gather here tonight in the shadow of the United Nations. The Prime Minister spoke on Friday. You're all aware of what he said, and Alex so eloquently highlighted a number of points. But I would briefly like to take you back in history. I'm not going to go all the way back to the partition plan or all the way back to the declaration of Israel as a nation state. I'm not going to go back to Israel having become a full member of the family of nations at the United Nations. Instead, I'm only going to go back to the 1970s, when after the Yom Kippur War, it was the United Nations that adopted the equation Zionism equals racism. Who loves a racist? No one. Who loves a criminal racist? No one. Who loves an apartheid advocating, practicing criminal racist? No one. Although the Zionism-racism resolution was overturned by the United Nations itself, maybe early in the 1990s, nevertheless, we saw on the grounds of the United Nations Conference, first in Nairobi and later in Durban, just before 9/11, we saw a hate fest, and we cared. And the Jewish organizations cared, and the United States cared, and Israel cared, and a few of our allies cared, but most of the world didn't care. And that's 25 years ago. The Durban Conference in Durban, South Africa, a conference to stand against racism, turned into a conference of racism against Israel and the Jewish people. And the world didn't care. The Durban Declaration that was adopted there became the platform, the program, if you will, of the last 25 years. And during that program, what have we seen? We've seen seeds of hate from that hate fest grow into and blossom into full trees. We saw the Second Intifada continue and murder and maim with suicide bombers, and the world didn't care. We saw the establishment of the electronic Intifada in 2005, and the world didn't care. We saw the beginning of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, and not only didn't the world care, but look at today. The world has joined that movement. The world is advocating for that movement, and we are paying the price. We're paying the price in our communities. We're paying the price on our campuses. We're paying the price in our shuls. We're paying the price with our own allies. We're paying the prices politically. We are paying for it in every possible way. It's taking lives, it's taking our good name and our reputation, and we here have the opportunity to do something about it. Each of you came here tonight not just to hear the Prime Minister, although we're sure that many of you had hoped to be able to say hello, to say Shana Tova, to say thank you, to say have an easy fast, have a safe day, have a safe trip, have good meetings with the President. We are sorry that you weren't able to do that in person, but we want you to understand this is not just a gathering about the Prime Minister and his visionary leadership and determination, because each of the presenters that we have assembled to bring to you tonight in this JNS Visionary Leadership Assembly are leaders in their own right. They are fearless. They are determined. They are absolutely committed to building a better future for Israel, for the United States, for the Jewish people, for people of all faiths and people from all walks of life. A closing comment. Each of you, having come here tonight, I would ask you, please, think about when you leave here tonight, what you can do in your shul, in your church, what you can do in your community, what you can do with those who govern in your community or your state or in the country. Think about the catalyst each of you are. You, your families, your friends, your companies, your foundations, your employees, all of those with whom you are affiliated. We need an echo chamber, and we hope and pray that during these days of awe, from this shul will come forth an echo chamber in which each of you will play a meaningful role. How can you do so? Be your own visionary leader. Do not be afraid. If we do not stand up for ourselves, believe me, we all know no one will stand up for us. So let us think about what is it we can do. We can speak, we can think, we can write, we can share, we can give ideas, we can give financial support, We can love our families and encourage our young people to go to their classes and not sit on the sidelines, but rather stand up, be counted. Let each of us in our communities, in our organizations, in our families, in our companies, let each of us strive during this coming year. Let us not wait another year, because the Jewish people cannot afford for us to wait another year. Alex mentioned something that everybody wants. It's called unity. I want to share with you an alternate view. Oftentimes, Jewish organizational leadership, when they call for unity, what are they saying? They're saying, "Shah still." They're saying, "I will speak for you." They're saying, "I will chart the path." They are saying, "I know better." But the fact of the matter is, we are in difficult days. We are in challenging times. And none of us know yet what tomorrow will bring, or the tomorrows of the future will bring. And therefore, let us have unity in this congregation, in this shul, that we will band together to see to it that we stand against those countries in the United Nations that have voted against us, and we display them. We make it clear that everybody knows who are the haters and who are the lovers. And we make it clear that when we seek unity, it's not for Shah still, because Shah still never worked in our history. It will only work if we are each visionary leaders standing together, making a difference, and enabling those around us to feel the strength, the power, the wisdom, and the vision to also stand together for the future of Israel, the Jewish people, and our many allies of all religions and from many countries around the world. Thank you for joining us here tonight.